No way! The train! What's up, dudes? Chooch back with another video, and today I'm out here on one of the coolest rides I've ever done in my entire life. And this was a freaking treat, man. And I actually got to see the train coming through and everything. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be going from a town in Colorado called Rollinsville, and then we're going to be heading up, pretty much following the Transcontinental Railroad. Now, this is the original Transcontinental Railroad, but this was the one built in the late 1800s. And then this one went over Rollins Pass over the Continental Divide. Later on, the Moffat Tunnel was built. And we're going to ride all the way from Rollinsville all the way to the Moffat Tunnel through all this desolate land. And it is packed full of history, guys. There is a ghost town we're going to go through. There was a crazy, there's deaths up here. There's just all kind of stories behind it. I'm going to be giving you the full rundown, and we're going to be riding this. This is my 100 volt M Super Pro right here. If you want to pick up a similar version of this wheel that I'm currently riding on in this video, the newest one, the most updated one, is the Gotway RS. Train from Chicago all the way to California. Let's check out, look at the Coyote right here. So right now we're going to be heading out of Rollinsville, and we're going to be heading up to Tolan, Colorado. And this is an unincorporated municipality. And there's not many of these in the world, really. In the United States is one of the places that has unincorporated municipalities, which, I mean, there's no law enforcement. There's no fire department. There's absolutely nothing, really. Eldora actually was one of those where I did a few rides back. There was that snowy ride as well, where you saw a lot of snowmobiles out and about. So there is a lot of places like that up here still, where it's desolate. Rollins Pass used to be one of the steepest passes that a commercial train ever went up. The owner of this town, of Rollinsville, he made that town right there because he knew that people coming from the west and using this before, it had a railway on it. They used this as basically a way to go west, with the wagon, horse and buggy, wagons, all that stuff. And he would toll people. He charged people coming through here. So this was his road, and that was his town, and he charged people coming through here. And eventually what happened was they made the Transcontinental Railroad. And the Transcontinental Railroad covered this entire area right here, right where we're going through. Literally, it was built right here, trucking straight through here. And it's still in use, as you see. The sun setting in the background, a little mountain ghost town, and then I'm riding along with the train as it's heading towards California. Man, it was just, this day was awesome. It really was cool. And I was just riding on my just standard stock tire on this M Super right here. It was actually 4 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's about negative 15.5, I think, Celsius. So, I mean, it was cold out here for sure. And, I just had that adrenaline going. I had just finished snowboarding, and I drove over here, and if I wasn't, out and about all day, I probably wouldn't have done this ride, so that definitely kept me going. And it was cold. My toes were frozen. I just literally had on these skateboard shoes with just normal socks on in 4-degree weather. And so, it was freezing. It really was cold. But, I just kept moving, kept it moving and kept everything rolling, and I was good to go. But actually, after this ride, I got to really thinking about, what I do and about, about the situations that I put myself in riding this thing. And where I'm at right now, there is absolutely no cell phone. And then there's nobody that really lives up this road. There might be somebody that has a vacation house, or maybe one or two people that live up here nowadays. But other than that, the only people that are going to be using this road that I'm on are going to be people that work for the railroad. People that, and there's not many people that go up there for the railroad. Everything is really automated. Everything with the tunnel and everything nowadays is all automated to where the doors open up, the ventilation system comes on. But this was a massive economic deal right here. This tunnel really meant a lot for the United States. And if this could be completed, whoever completed it, David Moffat, if he knew if he got this finished, he would be paid a lot of money because it was going to be a lot easier for folks. It just takes so much less time, and it was so much less treacherous because before, I'll show you the exact track up here. Actually, I think it literally is the exact track from the original Transcontinental Railroad. It may have been replaced or something once or twice, but it is the exact same track and route and everything where it used to go up Rollins Pass. And since then, there's just one corner of that track. I'll show it to you in a little bit. And it used to literally go around the corner and up what now is like a Jeep and ATV trail. And it goes all the way over Rollins Pass. And during the summertime, you can 4x4 up it and really rip it. But during the wintertime, it's just completely frozen up. You can snowshoe up it maybe or whatnot. But the reason they had to make the tunnel is literally because it was a 5% grade up through snowy, icy, crazy blizzard conditions usually. And it took forever. And it was really, really treacherous. Exactly what I was just telling you about the Transcontinental Railroad, about how the Moffat Tunnel was built, about Rollins Pass and everything.
This is awesome, man. I really feel like I'm in history.
So continuing on, we got a little ways to go up here for sure before we get to Toland, Colorado. I want you to keep an eye out for a yellow schoolhouse. And so this yellow schoolhouse is the only remnant left of a little town called Toland, Colorado. And the four of that, whenever you see these other little buildings or whatnot, that's actually a little ghost town. It's a different parcel of Toland. But Toland, Colorado, back in 1919, had a year-round population of about 250 people, and many of them worked for the railroad. And reason being that it could sustain 250 people up here working for the railroad is because Rollins Pass, like I was saying, it was difficult on trains. I mean, shit was breaking down left and right. I mean, trains were literally, they had to have constant work to where there was literally people up here, there was a saloon, there was, cigar clubs, there was a whole 9 yards up here, all around this little yellow building that you're going to see up here. Just imagine an old western town, and the street we're going down is the main street, essentially, of it. But just imagine other buildings being plotted around there, probably 15 on each side of the road around the yellow schoolhouse, a little bit further up this road. This used to honestly be a prime spot for day trippers to come up here back in 1919, literally about 100 years ago. There would be people coming up here to just enjoy their little resort town. And it had shops, a dance pavilion, picnic shelters. What really did it in for this town, though, up here and made it to where it just fell apart was Colorado Prohibition in 1916. So, like I said, this was the last stop. This little town we're headed up to was the last stop before that big climb, before they built the tunnel. And this was actually known as the Giant's Ladder, and it topped off at the Continental Divide. So this town was previously called Mammoth. And you can look on the map, and it actually just Mammoth Gulch is the actual geographical area, but it was called Mammoth in the pre-railroad days, and it was a mining community and a wagon stage stop. So this is where all the wagons would stop, where you got your wagons worked on and wood sealed up and your axles greased and ready to go, to the next river crossing. But anyways, an attorney named Charles Hanson Toll bought this land up here in 1893 for $1,000. He renamed the town after his wife, after her ancestral home in Toland, England. And Toll died in 1901, and he left all this land to his wife up here. And she saw an investment opportunity. When the railroad came through in 1904, she and her children platted the land and sold it off, and they made big bucks for the time, for sure. Actually used to be a beautiful hotel built up here. Actually, it was built around the same exact time as the Stanley Hotel, which is north of here in Estes Park. And this hotel really reminds me of it in the pictures. I'll actually put a picture in. This hotel really reminds me of the Stanley. It's not quite as nice, but it was built during the same time period and everything. And it actually burned down, in 1910. But it was beautiful, and a lot of people stayed in it. So some very cool history in this town up here. I want you to remember this. The yellow building is what I want you to look out for. Two buddies from Colorado Springs are up here actually working on the railroad. One of them named Shorty Allen, the other one named James Carton. They were extremely good friends, and literally they had a dispute, and they said, don't cry over spilled milk. An altercation had started over their daily wash duties. So you got to remember, obviously, there's no running water up here at this time, and so I assume they went down to the Boulder Creek, to get water out of it, and you'd have to bring back, buckets of water to use to wash clothes, to do dishes, to do everything like that. James was being reckless, and just splashing water everywhere and using too much water. And Alan got mad, and he picked up a broad axe and split him right across the back with it, and his buddy just dropped. The other coworkers were just witnessed this. Were just like like what just happened? And before everything could settle down, before the dust could settle, Alan pulled his 22 caliber pistol out and just popped himself in the noggin with it, and he fell stone cold, collapsed right over his friend's body, right up here. And it literally is right in front of this old yellow schoolhouse up here is where all this happened. So it's crazy, man. There's so much history up here. It's just awesome. You can really adventure on these things, guys, so you can go long range on it. I don't traditionally do long range rides all the time. I love doing them, but I usually do like trail rides and more technical stuff like that. But I love a good adventure, and this is what a lot of people get into the hobby for. There's a lot of people out there that don't want to go, beat up their knees and ride trails at 30 miles an hour and hit jumps like that. They want to get out and do stuff like this. And I'm telling you, if you want to just go do something like this, it is just amazing, man. It is just absolutely incredible. You get a few hundred miles under your belt, and your legs get to the point where this is nothing, man. Your legs don't get fatigued or you even feel tired or anything like that. That's why you really never see me riding with a seat on these unicycles. Is I like having a lot more control. I really don't feel like I have as much control over the wheel when I'm sitting down on it. And I can ride sitting down on it fine and everything like that, and it's definitely enjoyable in some situations on just completely flat ground. If you're really on a smooth bike trail and it's just you out there and it's just you're cruising into the sunset in the Florida Keys, that's where the seat's for. But bumpy roads, where dogs could come out, where wildlife could run at you, where cars can hit you, where there's unexpected things, standing up, you just have way more control. I feel like way more control, so that's why I'm always ripping like this. But we're gonna check out this town right here on the way back through. That's actually a little ghost town, man, and it is sweet. I don't think anybody lives in there. There might be somebody that lives in that red house up there, but other than that, I really don't know. I don't know for sure. I mean, the windows are boarded up here this time of year everywhere, even down in Rollinsville, because it's so cold. I mean, wind gusts will rip through this valley 60, 70 miles an hour when it's 0 degrees outside. The telltale sign is the places that are inhabited usually have satellite dishes on them up here. And so that's the only way you can really tell what places have life in them or where people go to, is because the older places don't have satellite dishes. The newer places where people actually live at will have a new satellite dish, because you're not getting internet up here. The only way you're going to get any type of TV, any type of anything, is a satellite dish. And so look, right up here, this is the Tolan Schoolhouse. This is Tolan, Colorado right here, where I was just telling you all the history about and everything. So just imagine right here, just imagine wagons, just imagine old-timey people and those old top hats walking around in cowboy boots right here. Literally a saloon, a dance hall, you name it, schoolhouse right there, everything. It literally it would be a full little town right here. People walking through it, people coming up from Denver on the train, stopping right there, getting off at the little stop, to come up here and day trip and see it, during the summertime. Not really much during the wintertime like right now. But, man, it's so cool just seeing, I just love history, man. It's so cool. So cool. You can learn everything else online. So I'm telling you, if you want to go to school for something and actually be entertained with it, if you got kids going to college or something like that, tell them to maybe look at history, because you can learn how to do everything else on YouTube. You can self-teach everything. You can self-teach languages, finance, economics, business, anything under the sun. But the one thing that takes a long time and really takes a story behind it, and is like a consecutive story that really builds on itself and that you can consume and not get bored of, is history. And I know a lot of people say, what are you going to do with a history major? Well, the two things I want to do are exactly what you use a history major for. I want to be a teacher and then be an attorney. So that's exactly what I'm doing with it. So if you know what you want to do with it, history is just fun, man.
Heading into the night. I'll admit, dude, I'm an adventurous person, but I'm a little bit scared, dude. This is a little bit far, man. It's gonna be so cold right back, dude. Oh no!
So what was giving me the most insane attraction on this ride right here, guys? You might be wondering, like, how, I mean, I had no studs or anything, and I was absolutely just ripping on this ice more so than I ever would be able to. I was actually impressed with it. When I started riding on it, I was like, okay, it's hooking up, it's hooking up. But thinking about it after looking back, you know, the reason this was is because most cars, most bikes, everything like that, what will happen is in cold weather, that tread will just get compacted with ice and snow to where there's nothing left. But you see, it's fresh rubber every circulation on here, and it was just because it was literally being halted up by so much mud and everything in there. And it wasn't good. When I got back, guys, actually, my tread on the left side from that actual mud ride that I did, there was so many little rocks caked in that clay, and it was actually wearing my tread down. Like literally my tread on one side, right on the middle, on the left hand side of the middle of the tire right there, it is just completely worn almost to the breaking point because of how much rocks were stuck in there circulating, you know. But it just shows the power of this thing, you know. And this thing is just the wheel is really being hindered right now with so much ice and snow and mud in there and everything, plus cold weather too on top of that, and it's still trucking, you know. So this is really a good test for this thing to see what it can do, and it's just still ripping, man. It's still ripping. These things are really impressive compared to what they were 5 years ago. You know, these things really, I mean, this is a machine, man. The military needs to start using these. You put me in a dead gum bomb deactivation suit and give me one of these, boy, I'll roll in, dude. I'll roll in and roll out real quick. Like you got to think about like the way these could be used, man. Like you get a good rider on one of these in a warfare situation, and you could these are disposable at the government cost level, you know.
Well, that's still, dude, you gotta break
One
down
warhead,
here,
you could
man.
get
Like, I
600
do
of
a
these
cell phone
things, you know.
service.
It's essentially the cost of it. So
got
these
a
are disposable for
half-ass
combat,
knife.
essentially. If they wanted to
I
start
need to
using
start
these,
bringing a hatchet
maybe I should be quiet
and a
about
good,
that.
like, torch
But
lighter,
you could really
and
get
then
somebody in
a
and out of a
tent.
situation
Right,
real
man.
quick. You know, if they were a
If
good
worse
rider
came
on
to
one of
worse,
these, a
this
hell
thing
of a
cut
lot better
off,
than
we
on
could
foot.
work on it,
And shit, if you had to ditch it and just
wire,
run,
we had to, like,
you know,
seal
so
them.
be it. What is the cost
You
of
know,
that
cut
to the
down some
military?
trees.
So, I don't know.
Dude,
You get me on the marketing team, guy. Where I could get I could get these sold to I could get these sold to the U.S. forces, man. All right, guys. So coming up, this railroad right here, this turnoff was the original railroad that went up Rollins Pass. This is the original route of the
all right, guys,
Transcontinental Railroad right here.
Quick history lesson. This is awesome, guys. Came right around this way, and it went up here, guys. This is Rollins Pass, and it went all the way around, and it literally went up this. It was like a 5% grade at sometimes for a train. And you got to think, man, like with all the ice and crap, they had to think of something different. It took forever for them to get over this pass. They had to go all the way around right here and eventually over these mountains right over here. Seriously, this is so cool, man. We made it to the tunnel. We made it all the way to the Moffat Tunnel, dude. This is it. This is so cool, dude.
Okay, guys, so we are at the tunnel right now. You see these 5 cabins off to the side right here? Those 5 cabins were actually for people working on the tunnel about 100 years ago. And those cabins were just put on January of 2020, actually. The 5 remaining cabins, you know, this is the East Portal campsite is what you would call it. They were put on Colorado's most endangered places list. So that's pretty cool. Those are sweet right there. You know, that's a historical gem that's still intact. That probably won't be there for too many more years, you know.
If you ever get on the California Zephyr from Chicago or anything like that, or any train pretty much going west, this is where you're going to go through. That's the Moffat Tunnel. It goes right up there. You see it on the sides. You see those big old turbines on the sides of each side right there? Those are actually so it can get air in there. Force air in there with those big turbines so people don't suffocate in the train car, and so the train will still run. Mainly so the train will still run in there. I think there's enough oxygen to breathe. But that's epic, man. I never thought I'd be able to ride all the way up here, especially in the wintertime. Wow, dude. It is desolate out here. It is desolate. There is no one, dude.
So you see that peak right there. And so this trail, actually, you can take this trail
I probably
right
won't
up
be
to
able to
James Peak, and that's actually a 13,000-foot mountain right there, or a 13er.
burn my motor.
So the
up.
Moffat Tunnel goes 6.2 miles under the shoulder of that peak right there, and it originated as a tunnel basically for getting water down to Inglewood, Colorado. And this tunnel right here, still to this day, has an adjacent tunnel next to it, which was also used for maintenance and working on the tunnel and everything as well. And that tunnel is a massive pipe that's used for getting water across the Continental Divide. And in some scenarios, to some locations, water will cross the Continental Divide up to 3 times back and forth, and then eventually go directly to that main transport pipe coming down where the Moffat Tunnel is and go to Denver. And I'm pretty sure Denver Water owns the adjacent tunnel to the Moffat Tunnel, which Union Pacific owns the Moffat Tunnel. And Union Pacific was founded by Abraham Lincoln.
This is so cool, dude. 1923 to 1927 is when that was made. That is epic, dude. So 100 years ago, man, there was people, about 100 years ago, there was people up here building this thing. Connecting the east to the west. Very cool, man, very cool. That's a hell of an adventure, man. Good day. All in all, good day. Snowboarding and electric unicycle adventuring. Now, what would make my day is to see the actual California Zephyr come through right now. You'd see me jump like a kid in a candy store.
So that tunnel right there actually ended up being $24 million to complete. The original cost, I think, was they were thinking it was going to be like $6.5 million, but you know how that goes with any construction project. But that one really goes to show that one went way over cost. And it was because actually on this side where we were just at, the rock right there was just hellacious to get through. It was extremely hard rock to get through, way harder than it was over on the western side. So it came out, it ended up being about $500 a foot to make that tunnel right there. And another fun fact, each of the bronze characters that you saw on the front right there, you saw the bronze characters that said Moffat Tunnel. Each one of those had to have an individual cast made for it, and at the time, to pour those bronze letters, it was $40 a piece is what it came out to, added into the cost. It was absolutely ridiculous, monumental how much material they had to remove from that mountain right there to create that tunnel. It was actually like, I think it was like 3 trillion pounds of rock that they removed from that tunnel. It was equal to, I think it was 1,600 freight trains, and that was like 40 cars each on each freight train. So I mean that's just nuts. This whole place up here really does have a very, very eerie vibe, especially as the sun's going down and everything like that. And we're approaching another Toland. We're going to go up here back to Toland, and I want to show you the ghost town up here. But there was a lot of deaths up here. And I guess, with the whole ghost thing and everything like that, in one area like this so many years ago where it's just untouched and there's not a lot of people around and everything like that, I believe in that type of stuff, and it's, man, you get a weird vibe out here, you really, really do. And during just the construction project alone, it was a 5-year construction project in total. And I think it was like 28 people that actually died just building the tunnel alone. In that tunnel we were just looking at. I think 28 people died in there, and I think it was like 6 of them in just one single cave-in incident. So you got to think, man, like construction projects like that, big construction projects back in the day. It took lives, There wasn't OSHA, there wasn't all the safety protocols, there wasn't all this stuff that we have nowadays, where it's extremely safe. They paid the money, and the workers. It wasn't a 9 to 5 with a guarantee to go home at the at the end of the day. This type of stuff, you know, steel work up in New York and working on railroads and stuff like that, it's no joke. This rail can really be the one that's, you know, the one that put it into the Wild West days, if you want to put it that way. And with that, you know, you can tax the goods going in and out. You got control over what goods leave, what goods come, who goes where, and you can really, you know, put your stake in the ground if you have a railroad to control it, you know. So this is my favorite part of the history about this tunnel, guys. So at the time, in 1927, President was Calvin Coolidge, and this is how they made the pilot hole connecting the east to the west. They actually set a dynamite charge and gave him the button. He was sitting in Washington, D.C., and President Calvin Coolidge pressed the detonator button from Washington, D.C. to explode the pilot hole tunnel and connect the two sides right there. So guys, if that's not a hell of a history lesson right there and one ride, I don't know what is. But dude, I loved it. And man, stuff like this is just epic. Let's go over here and check out this little ghost town real quick before we end it off.
I guess we've made it far enough.
So I was really curious. I wasn't trying to go up on anybody's property or anything, but I assumed this is a ghost town. But look right here. You can see, I mean, a snow shovel, a fresh snow shovel out, another fresh snow shovel out right over here. And there's the key sign is a satellite dish. Check it out on that red building right behind me. So these don't look like they're inhabited by anybody, for sure. These are definitely old buildings. These are really old buildings. But over here, this red building, I think someone may live in here, honestly, because these windows right here are boarded up, and that's just because of how cold it is. You got to with the wind blowing out here. But satellite dish, that's a telltale sign. I think someone might actually live there. You know? Because you're not getting internet up here, and that's the thing. I'm buying a two-way GPS communicator because there's no internet where I'm at right now. So you got to think satellite is the only form of entertainment they're getting. The links below, guys, take you straight to eWheels and eRides UK. So eWheels is where you're going to want to go for everybody in the USA and Canada, and extremely fast shipping, extremely reliable customer service. eWheels is the best. And for everybody overseas and everywhere else other than the United States and Canada, go with eRides UK. They will get you set up. The links below, guys. Use the code CHOOCH5 and you can get a discount from eRides UK as well. You can also get an instant $20 discount from Lazy Rolling. So all the jackets that I wear, they're Kevlar lined and they're armored. So if you do go down, you know, you got some protection there. They're easy to throw on and I really swear by them. Use code CHOOCH at checkout for your $20 off. If y'all enjoyed the video, press that red subscribe button and I'll see y'all in the next one.